Hi, my name is Alexandra Pothduwage, and today I will be talking about the effects of the patriarchy shown through the digital manosphere and how incel culture and mass violence have caused toxic socialization of masculinity to become unignorable. The patriarchy affects men and women and anyone else who doesn't fall into those two categories. You could be a feminist, a misandrist, a misogynist. At the end of the day, the patriarchy negatively affects you. Misogyny, hatred, and violence against women has been around since the beginning of time, but the digital world of today allows for anti-female rhetoric to spread at exponentially larger rates. Because of this easy accessibility, forums which sole purpose is to produce content that spreads messages against women pop up all over, most commonly known as incel forums.
It's rising up. You might call this a new phenomenon.
Summarize your opinion towards women?
Like what I think of them?
Yes.
I do think they are very important, but
most people in Gen Z have heard the term incel by now. The word is a shortened form of involuntary celibate. Those who identify as incels believe in an intricate social functioning of our society in which conventionally attractive men who are rich and of high social status, as well as women, rule society. They maintain and hold stereotypical misogynistic beliefs towards women and see them as manipulative, seductive, and evil people of the world who use incels and deny them of their sexual relationships that all men are entitled to.
If you're an ugly guy, you better get a good job and make some money, because nobody's gonna want to talk to you. You don't deserve to get laid at all!
A quote from the National Library of Medicine: "Forever in search of the holy trinity of money, sex, and power, women are seen as generally untrustworthy and prone to infidelity, willing to take any chance they can to ascend the social ladder and abandon normie men in pursuit of greener pastures." Here's an example of a real-life incel that you've probably seen on TikTok.
Women of color, or just women in general, have been oppressed by certain systems and other oppressed communities, especially LGBTQ+, all those don't really fit with the spectrum that incels or you have been talking about. So why do you think your method of thought would help fix what we have today?
I probably wouldn't view the things that you might view as oppression as oppression. I have a feeling. I would view it more as how we treat children that we love. We control them, but we control them lovingly, not as a slave, not as we're forcing them to do things against their will. I would view it more as a loving domestic thing in the past. And I would say that if we were to do it in a civilized way, maybe in a more, even a Christian way, even though I'm not really advocating for a certain religion or ideology, I would assume that women would probably be happier. And I wouldn't just assume that blindly, I would assume that based on the data that I have seen.
What data have you seen that has brought you to this conclusion? Because I'm now curious where I can get this data from.
I couldn't reference it offhand, but I believe there was a study that I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Okay.
Pivotal moment in your life, like a straw that broke the metaphorical camel's back?
You know, it's constant years of rejection, no matter who the person was, constant years of rejection in other aspects of my life. It did kind of push me towards more, I suppose, radical beliefs, but I suppose they're only like radical, but they're more just old beliefs, really. I guess I wish people would recognize how much effort I'm trying, I suppose. Like, I'm working out typically daily. I've lost over 100 pounds. I'm out there job hunting actively. I don't think people recognize how much effort the incels in general try to put into bettering themselves. I would say, people don't recognize their effort. They just assume that they're all like lazy and sad and angry at women and just giving up and things of that nature, I suppose.
Okay.
In this video, Derek is an example of an incel whose belief system aligns more with purple pilling, the acceptance of the normie anti-incel society, while simultaneously putting in work as an incel to try to better himself. There are core pathways in the incel thought process known as red pilling, blue pilling, and black pilling. If incels take the blue pill, they get to blissfully ignore the male-hating reality of society. This quote from the National Library of Medicine describes what it looks like when one chooses the red pill. Incels considered their unique insights into the dating world as a product of being red-pilled. Such wisdom is lost on normies and alphas who are seen as subscribers to the blue pill ideology. In adopting so-called red pill ideology, incels are also put in a position to game the system to be seen as a more desirable mate, since they believe themselves to hold the playbook that women abide by. This has led to self-enhancement practices referred to as looks maxing and gym maxing, where individuals undergo plastic surgery or rigorous exercise routines in order to improve their appearance. That is categorized as purple pilling, which is kind of what Derek was talking about. This is viewed as the only solution, aside from a return to enforced monogamy, available to incels to achieve alpha or Chad status.
So you think that promiscuity is the problem, and if people were more monogamous and more withholding, that would sort of fix society?
Yeah, I suppose people were more traditionalist.
Normies are believed to be everyone who doesn't identify as an incel. Chads and alphas are the rich, good-looking men of high social status who are sexually liberated. Stacys are evil, blonde, white women who are unfaithful and manipulative. And Beckys are Stacey's less attractive counterpart, but are just as manipulative and evil. If the red pill ideology is seen as pessimistic, then the black pill is its nihilistic successor that promises no hope for upward mobility unless the looks-based hierarchy collapses and a new patriarchal order is established.
You think it is about liberal areas that create behavior in women that you think is a problem?
Promiscuity leads to increased standards in more primitive aspects such as looks. And that typically makes it harder for some people to find a relationship, including sometimes good-looking people. Like, there's guys who are much better looking than I am who are having a really hard time finding someone in a place like LA or in London or in Auckland, New Zealand. But they probably would have a perfectly fine time finding a woman somewhere else. I think that, men should be the leaders and women should be the caregivers and the loving, supporting, and the teachers in some cases.
This is where the incel idea that things need to go back to how they were and society needs to be patriarchal come in. This is what drives incel radical belief and radical behavior. To sum up why this affects literally everyone today, incels have repeatedly been tied to acts of mass violence. The first primary incel-associated act of mass violence was the 2014 Santa Barbara shooting carried out by Elliot Rodgers.
Girls, I will destroy you.
I'll read you the timeline of events since then. Rodgers was praised in the manifesto of the Umpqua University college shooter, who also wrote about his sexual repression in 2015. 2 mass shootings occurred where both perpetrators spoke highly of Rodgers online, December 2017, February 2018. The Toronto van attacker wrote online, "The incel rebellion has already begun. All hail the supreme gentleman, Elliot Rodgers." A man who compared himself to Rodgers opened fire in a yoga studio in Tallahassee, Florida, killing 2 women. A Virginia man was arrested after found with explosives with a letter stating, "I will not be afraid of the consequences. No matter what, I will be heroic. I will make a statement like Elliot Rodgers did," and so forth. Now, incel communities are part of a larger digital community referred to as the Manosphere, which contains groups like men's rights groups, fathers' rights groups, men going their own way, etc. The easy accessibility of this kind of rhetoric in the digital world is causing a new form of male violence to run rampant in our society. We're used to seeing male violence as sexual assault, domestic violence, groping. We need to get comfortable categorizing this new trend of mass violence as male violence if we are ever going to begin to counter it. I understand misandry, but at the end of the day, it only pushes incels further into their radicalism when we don't look at the picture as a whole. We allow ourselves to give up on trying to fix the issue because of resentment we've built up. We're only participating in letting the cycle carry on. Understanding the connection between incel communities' misogyny and the patriarchy is crucial in combating violence against women and mass violence in general. When we collectively come to realize this is when positive change will come.